What if you believe that love, relationships in general, are inherently painful? Maybe something that you are unaware of from childhood is that the version of love that you learned, the version of relationships that you learned, was based in a sadomasochistic dynamic of boundary violations. I'm not going to say that love that is painful is not real love. I'm going to make very real everything that people experience because it's the reality of it. Some people experience love that is painful. Some people experience love that is peaceful. Some people experience love that is chaotic. Some people experience love that is calm. If you believe that love is painful, that it's chaotic, that it is unpredictable, that it is unstable, that it is there and then it is not, it's likely because that is the dynamic that you learned about love and relationships in your unhealthy, survival-based childhood. Love is it's such an abstract concept, but to make it into more of a formal thing, people that experience painful love are in relationships with people where there are regular boundary violations, regular disrespect, regular betrayal, and this is a result of the root issue, which was the survival-based dysfunctional childhood of fight, flight, freeze, fawn. Say, for instance, if you're in a relationship with somebody and you feel a certain energetic dynamic between you two, and when I say a certain energetic dynamic, what I'm referring to is something feels painful. Or maybe multiple things. Have you ever been in a relationship with somebody where they seemingly cannot accept you and love you for who you are? No, you've got to be something else, somebody else for them. Does that feel familiar to something? Maybe your survival-based childhood was similar. Maybe the dynamics between you and mom, you and dad, were comparable. There is such thing as pain in love, and it is rooted in unhealthy dynamics. Healthy love is not painful, but for those that are very comfortable and familiar with unhealthy love, boundary violating love, sadomasochistic love, painful love, healthy love is fucking bland. Because they're used to all the boundary violations. Somebody that is unhealthy would run away from somebody that is healthy. But somebody that is healthy wouldn't even be in a relationship with somebody that is unhealthy. It wouldn't happen. It's just the way that it is. I'm just using this as like a comparison to show you how repellent they both are to each other. Somebody that is healthy would see the person that is unhealthy and be like, nope. And vice versa. Somebody that is unhealthy would see the person that is healthy. I mean, imagine being somebody that is used to being in relationships with people where there is pain regularly, but why is the pain present? Your boundaries are being violated, or your boundaries are therefore non-existent, maybe because you were raised with a literal lack of boundaries. This happens. And because of that, the relationship itself really doesn't have any static definition. It lacks form. You lack certainty in knowing that the other person loves you for you, because they don't. It's the reality of it. Of course they don't love you for you. They love you for an idea that they have of you. Let me make this very clear. And again, no judgment. This is not me judging anybody. This is just simply me looking at characteristics of a person for what it is, or for what they are. Take somebody that is emotionally immature. They're emotionally stagnated, somewhere between infancy and childhood. With that, they're very caught up in black or white thinking. With that, what do? They idealize people, and they also devalue them. They idealize people because they're emotionally immature and they lack the capacity to see people in gray. They see them in either black or white. That's the thinking. They lack the capacity to see people in gray. Oh, people are just people. They're not, out of this world. They're not, lesser. They're just people. People that are emotionally immature lack that capacity. So, with that, they idealize people and they devalue people. Instead of just seeing people as, yep, it's just a person. So, understand that when somebody that is emotionally immature enters a relationship, the dynamic back and forth between idealizing and devaluing is what starts to take place. So, what are they actually loving? They're loving a version of you, probably a fantasized version of you that they created in their mind. It's not even like they told you about it. They idealized you, they idolized you, they placed you on this pedestal, and they created this fantasy version of you in their minds. That is what they love, or loved. So then, they're not actually loving you for who you are, because they can't even see you for who you are. They cannot see you as the human you are, in the gray, with all of your stuff and your imperfections, because we're human and that's just the way that we are. So instead, they see you as this fantasy version that they've created for you in their emotionally underdeveloped mind. That is what they love you for. The reason why it's painful is because it is unstable. They don't see you statically. They see you ever changing, and as they see you ever changing, it's not that you are actually ever changing. It's just that they see you that way, and they have unhealthy reactions as a result of it, because they are without understanding that they created the structure of you in their minds. And then, of course, with that, the reason why it's painful is because they then go on to violate the shit out of your boundaries, fucking obliterate the shit out of your boundaries, because that's their coping mechanism. Oh, you're not this perfect person that I thought you were. I never told you I was. And that becomes the issue. This is why unhealthy relationships are painful, because the dynamics in and of themselves are unhealthy. It's not healthy to see somebody as idealized. It's not healthy to create a version of somebody in your head that is not an accurate depiction of who they are. Have them not meet that because they're incapable of meeting that, because they're human. They're just simply not going to meet that. And then you devalue them. It's not healthy. But this is the type of love that is painful. This is the type of love that is comfortable and familiar to your survival-based childhood. Let me make another example here, because I think that this will be very helpful. Why did you learn this in childhood? Well, let's look at the parent, doesn't matter if it was mother or father, the parent that chose to have you as an extension of themselves. So they didn't even give you the opportunity to develop autonomously. They had you as an extension of themselves because they needed to achieve something. Oh, I have a low self-esteem, so I need to put that energy into producing a child that I will create to perform for me to make me look better. You ever hear that term trophy child? The child that becomes an overachiever because there was so much fucking pressure in childhood to perform, to achieve. And your parent would not love you, validate you, accept of you, approve you for any other reason than your achievements, your performance. That is unhealthy, painful love. That is what was learned in childhood. That is what is continued to be seeked out in adulthood. That is the boundary violating dynamic that so many people are used to, that when they say, oh, love is just painful. Hold on a second, let's backtrack. Unhealthy, boundary violating love, sadomasochistic love, is painful. Healthy, boundaried love, where you are not seen for this idealized version of you, you're simply just seen as you are. The gray is there because the person has emotional health. Static, it's there. They see you as a dynamic person. Somebody that is emotionally immature, emotionally stagnated, caught up in black or white thinking, they lack the capacity to see you in that way, which is why they idealize you and then realize that their version of you is not accurate. Oh, it's painful for them, so then what do? It wasn't even your fault. You didn't tell them. You didn't ask them to idealize you. But then what they do is they devalue you, and that is painful. But along the entire way, they were violating your boundaries to begin with, because idealizing somebody is, in and of itself, even if it's not really communicated, I mean, boundary violations are much more a thing of what it is that you do to other people. When you idealize somebody, when you create a fantasy construct of somebody else in your mind, maybe you're not violating their boundaries because you're not like doing anything to them or saying anything to them, but the second that you interact with them on behalf of that distorted construct that you created for them in your mind, yeah, you're going to make it out that they're perfect. By the way, people that were raised in fucked up family systems that have felt throughout their entire lives like pieces of shit and unworthy and everything, they tend to be very attracted to people that idealize. Why? Because they see somebody that sees them as better than their childhood made them out to believe they were. And this is like intoxicating for them. This is fucking seductive. So they get really caught up in the dynamic and they're like, wow, this person really sees me and I like the way that they see you. They see a fantasized construct of you that was created in their emotionally underdeveloped black or white thinking mind. They do not see you for you. They see you for the construct that they created through fantasy, and they projected that onto you, which that in and of itself was probably the beginning of the process of violating your boundaries, because of course they're going to continue to interact with you. Oh my God, look at this perfect, amazing person. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing as anybody like that out there. And then the second that you do one thing that goes against their fantasized construct of you, that's when they start the process of devaluation. Oh shit. What they can't see is, oh, this person's actually not perfect. So they project that onto you. And then the second whatever you do contradicts that, they're like, devaluation mode. That's the way that it works. So I hope that that illustrated the reality of painful relationships, unhealthy relationships. And to make it very clear that you may believe that love and relationships as they are just painful. But that's because that's what you learned in childhood. It doesn't mean that that's what they actually are. That's what unhealthy relationships are. Again, there's a difference between unhealthy, boundary violating relationships and healthy, boundary respected relationships. If you have spent decades of your life inside of relationships that are unhealthy and boundary violating, again, relationships that are healthy and boundary respected are going to be fucking bland. They're going to be boring. You're going to be like, why isn't this person triangulating me with all these other people like I'm used to from my survival-based childhood of me being triangulated by whichever parent or authority figure, you know? And then you're going to look the other way. That's the fascinating thing. Like, unhealthy relationships are fucked up. They really are. They really are. But to like actually heal from that and come out of it and to choose healthy dynamics is challenging because you're used to all of these different elements being present in the dynamic of the relationship. And then when they're all of a sudden like not there, this is why healing is important. This is why realizing what it is that you came from, healing all of that shit, and then choosing healthy is important. Because like if what you've been used to your entire life is boundary violations and you associate that with love, respected boundaries, simple respect in relationships is not going to look appetizing for you. And that's one of the biggest challenges when it comes to healing from these dynamics is like actually being like, whoa, boundary violations. That is painful. It is. If you're with somebody and they're pressuring you to do things that you don't want to do, they're pressuring you to be somebody that you don't want to be. Have you ever been with somebody that like literally pressures you to like you can only be with them if you do something that they want you to do? Boundary violations. Left and right, up and down, all across the board, everywhere. And that's what a lot of people that have been in relationships that they feel as loving but simultaneously painful, that's what they're used to. But let me say it, love only equals pain to people that are comfortable and familiar with unhealthy, boundary violating, sadomasochistic, fucked up relationships. Healthy relationships are a totally different adventure. And when you really understand the difference between them, it changes everything.